her, I found out she was an ex-breeding dog. She was limping down both her hind legs, which is all as a result of her old injuries from the puppy mill.
本地宠物狗需求逐年增长，应对需求的代价却是动物福利的牺牲。
他们是 puppy mill 的话，那个父母、那个妈妈 especially 一直生，我相信那个妈妈自己都不健康了，也不会生出健康的 baby 了。
政府修订业界规范，希望推动宠物狗繁殖业者提高经营水准。
检查那个规定是1年1次，但是我们是每个星期都1次。我们的狗可以讲说是99%都是没有被关起来的，都是自由跑动。
新加坡有越来越多人购买宠物狗，狗儿的可爱与陪伴让人窝心。然而，光鲜亮丽背后却隐藏着鲜为人知的暗角。根据一些动物福利组织分享，早期由宠物狗繁殖场业者只管赚取利润，罔顾动物福利，最终导致繁殖犬的身心受到伤害。
Luna, where are you, Luna?
我在福利组织义工的牵线下，找到了一只得到救助的退役繁殖犬。
You see the way Luna sits and the way Leah sits. Okay, Leah, sit. Sit. You see? Can you see her left hind leg? It's splayed out, right? The reason why Leah's left leg is splayed when she sits down is because of her old injuries. And now that she's getting older, she's 9, 10 years old, she's getting a little slower now. There's an onset of early arthritis, which is all as a result of her old injuries from the puppy mill. Here it is, Can you see it? Yeah, so that's one of her scars. That's one of her surgery scars. And then she's got one on this leg as well. Yes, baby. I adopted Leia when I found her in a shelter, Voices for Animals, in 2017. I found out she was an ex-breeding dog. She was limping down both her hind legs. And I brought her to see a vet after I adopted her and brought her home, and she did her first TPLO surgery within a month of coming home. So she's got metal rods down both her hind legs. The reason why she did this is because we suspect it was abuse in the shelter or neglect in the shelter. A little bit of history, the owner of Leah's shelter was arrested by AVS. At the time it was called AVA. They did a spot check. He was arrested for ill-treating and abusing his dogs. That's why you see some ex-breeding dogs that are up for adoption with deformed legs because they outgrew the size of the cage. So, you know, these are the kind of daddy dogs and mummy dogs that are providing puppies to pet shops and people buying puppies from pet shops, boasting about how, you know, they've got this new puppy without realizing the past.
为了销售而配种繁殖宠物狗，对繁殖犬有潜在危害。这一专业要怎么做才合乎道德？有多年救助退役繁殖犬经验的动物福利组织 Voices for Animals 创办人陈嘉欣在受访时分享个人看法。
Ethically wise, right, we are not in the position to say whether is it ethical or not. Ethical wise, right, is the rule sets by the authority. They came out with 那个 list of 那些 procedures on how to protect the animals. Ethical breeding, it needs to go into a lot of researchers, studies, and not just like breeding. 有一些外国比较那种 reputable 的breeders, right， 这样他们就是 before 那些狗他们要去 breed， 他们要把那个狗 send for full blood check 啦，做这个 eye test 啦 hip test 啊 scoring 啦，这些很多东西要做的。我们的 authority 也是可以 set 这个 rules， 就是 in place 这些 rules it can be enforced. But like you know some breeders that we are dealing with, they're very ethical.
本地一家宠物店业者受访时也表示，国外监管宠物狗繁殖的标准较高，因此他们只售卖来自海外的幼犬。
我们现在就只是进 Australia 的狗而已，因为 Australia 怎么讲都是比较严格，对动物会比较严格，比较守他们的规矩那些了。本地的现在暂时就是没有了。还有最重要的就是我们是不跟 puppy mill 啦，还有 backyard breeder 啦 work together 的啦。他们是 puppy mill 的话， 那个父母那个妈妈 especially 一直生，我相信那个妈妈自己都不健康了，也不会生出健康的 baby 了。That's why 我们没有乱选 breeder， 我们会去 scan through 他们到底是不是 register under 他们的 association 那些了。那个 association 呢，他们会去他们的住处来做一个 audit。OK， 如果那个地方是 OK 了，然后他们才会给他们那个 license 了。跟我们 work together 的 breeder， 他们的妈妈一生就只能生3次，然后不能连续。然后生了3次，他们就要 retire 了。
政府每年为宠物狗主人颁发和更新的宠物狗执照有稳步上升趋势，从2018财政年的68000张涨到2022财政年的88000张。一项针对本地宠物主人的调查则显示，绝大部分受访者选择向宠物店购买宠物，当中有9%是直接向繁殖场购买。也有3%是上网购买。宠物狗繁殖场业者如果想持续应对需求，就得不断增加繁殖犬的数量。为了持续提升本地宠物狗繁殖场的从业水准，保障繁殖犬的福利，动物与兽医事务组在2021年宣布收紧执照标准，新的规定已经在2022年生效。业者如今除了必须在繁殖犬退休后照顾它们，为所有繁殖犬提供足够的社交和活动空间，也得确保禁止近亲交配和繁育有遗传缺陷的狗儿，以及母犬每年只繁殖生产1次等。条规生效至今，到底给业者和繁殖犬带来哪些变化？我带着这个疑问走进了一家宠物狗繁殖场，请业者解答。
这里是大多数的狗都在鸡的地方，它们吃睡都会在这里。
所以一区里面会有几只狗嘞？
因为是体型的关系，说如果是大型的狗，我们就会尽量越收越少。因为他们也要有活动的空间。如果 Shetland 的话，我们会差不多放3到4只左右。如果小型的狗，有可能是6到8只左右。更小的话，有可能就10只左右。因为这一区的位置就是这么大，所以我们也没有要真的 overpopulate them individually. That's why you see most of the dog is running freely. Definitely 的妈妈一开始知道有怀孕了，我们就会把妈妈移出这个地方，因为有时真的很吵杂，就会在里面，因为里面的环境会比较干，会有冷气，所以他们就会比较 get maximum care。因为这边有时会要看这天气，潮湿，那个冷度也调不到，所以只能放在冷气房。
但是我们这边又看到小笼子，可以解释一下这些是什么？
这些有时是我们在冲狗的时候，有些要蒸药水，需要花比较多的时间，蒸了药水放在这边，等时间到了，我们再跟它洗掉。但是你要懂，这些笼子都不是 real， 它全部都是一个 platform 来的。虽然是暂时性，但是我们也是希望他们站得舒服。
业者进一步分享，团队平时也会承担额外费用，为所有繁殖犬提供官方条规以外的照顾。
除了每1年检查1次 ，Paw Buddies 会每个星期都会有个兽医来这里检查。我们应该是头几个会做 genetic testing 的。So all this care that we put in is on the dog itself, is justifiable. So at least it's like customer know that. Okay, the mom is well taken care of. We showcase our dogs. We do the health test, all this kind of thing. So we are really above the rest. This is my way of doing because we just want to sleep well at night.
作为繁殖狗场业者，有哪些不为人知的一面，或者是哪方面的挑战呢？
When you told people 我就是个 breeders， 眼光就是不一样，因为 I don't work for welfare。我们的辛苦没人知道啊。如果你的 customer 没有照顾好的狗的话， end of the day 问题不是主人照顾不好，是 breed 的不好，都是指向我们。但是我们的付出，我们做的东西没人看得到。很像我们去晒狗，这是 每天的工作来的。All these people don't see it.
针对像绝豪这样的业者，设定业内标准和规范准则，只是画下基本的底线。尽管没有万能之计，有不少爱狗人士仍希望当局能采取更彻底的做法来保护狗儿。
Why not just ban dog breeding in Singapore? Ban it completely.
Because really there's a huge demand for pet dogs. If you were to ban dog breeding, then your only available official available resource is through import, which is not great because that's quite limited. Then supply will come from underground, which is not healthy. These dogs are from unknown health status. You really don't want them to come into our country because it bypasses our entire biosurveillance system. Regulating the industry is about working in the industry to raise standards. But granted, as part of it, we do have to take enforcement action for those that fail to meet the licensing condition. And I would say that licensing condition is only the baseline. So really, when we talk about regulating the industry, we're talking about raising standards. We're talking about breeders putting in the effort to raise the standard, as well as the industry working together to raise the standards. Not just a cat and mouse game where authorities come and catch, try to check, because it's so resource intensive and it's never fully effective.
I think at the end of the day, I'm not against breeding, all right? I'm against bad, irresponsible breeding, all right? My first dog we purchased from a championship breeder. So I know exactly the processes. Let's go, sweetie. I always feel that if you're a true dog lover, you would adopt. Because you love the dogs enough not to have preconceived notions. It's not like buying a Louis Vuitton bag. I want to buy this bag, so I'll go to the shop to buy this bag. You know, you're bringing a living creature into your house. So if you're a true dog lover, you will accept all kinds of dogs.